It was a chilly morning in a quiet neighborhood where most people were already rushing to work or school. The sun had barely risen, and the streets were still sprinkled with a thin layer of frost. A young boy walked briskly along the sidewalk, his backpack slung over one shoulder, worn sneakers scuffing against the pavement. He moved with purpose, but there was something calm and thoughtful in the way he carried himself, like he noticed more than most people did. His eyes wandered from one side of the street to the other, not because he was bored or distracted, but because he always seemed to be aware of the little things others often missed. That morning, as he turned a corner, he saw an old man standing near the side of the road, looking confused and slightly lost. The man was dressed in a thick coat that looked warm but slightly too big for him. His hair was white, wispy, and unkempt, and he held a small grocery bag that looked heavy and awkward to carry. He seemed to be staring at nothing, yet he also seemed to be trying to figure something out, like he was trapped in his own thoughts. The boy hesitated for a moment. Most kids his age might have walked past thinking it was none of their business, but he didn't. There was something about the man's expression that tugged at him, something that made him slow down and take notice. "Excuse me, sir," the boy said softly, approaching the old man. "Do you need some help?" The old man looked up slowly, blinking as if trying to focus on the boy. I'm not sure," he said, his voice shaky and uncertain. He adjusted the grocery bag in his hands, which seemed to slip slightly. The boy stepped closer and smiled gently. "It's okay. I can help you with that bag if you want." For a moment, the old man didn't respond. Then, after a pause, he nodded slightly. "Thank you," he whispered. It was a small word, but it carried weight, as if it had been a long time since anyone had offered help. The boy took the bag carefully from the man's hands, feeling its weight. It wasn't heavy in a normal sense, but it was awkward, and the way the man carried it made it clear he wasn't steady on his feet. As they began to walk slowly down the sidewalk, the boy tried to make conversation, though he could tell the old man's mind wandered in strange ways. "Do you live around here?" the boy asked gently. The old man looked at him, eyes narrowing slightly as if trying to remember. I think so," he muttered. I'm not sure where I am." The boy nodded, understanding more than the man realized. He had heard of people who sometimes forgot things, who sometimes got lost even in familiar places. "That's okay," he said. "I can help you get home. We'll figure it out together." As they walked, the boy noticed small things about the old man, how he would sometimes stop mid-step, as if trying to remember which way to turn, how he held the grocery bag close to his chest, almost like it was a lifeline, how his hands shook slightly, betraying a nervousness he didn't voice. The boy didn't judge him or make him feel awkward. He simply walked beside him, offering a steady presence which seemed to comfort the old man more than words could. At one point, the man paused and looked down at the ground, pointing at a crack in the sidewalk. I remember this somewhere," he said softly. His voice was uncertain, fragile, but there was a flicker of recognition in his eyes. The boy smiled encouragingly. "Maybe we'll see some more familiar places soon. Don't worry, we'll figure it out." It wasn't easy walking with him. The man's steps were slow, uneven, and sometimes he would stop for no reason, looking around as if seeing something invisible. The boy adjusted his pace, sometimes holding the bag between them so the man wouldn't have to struggle. Other times he would gently guide the man by his arm, making sure he stayed steady. People walking by gave them curious glances. Some whispered to each other. Some shook their heads and hurried past, thinking the boy was wasting his time, but the boy didn't care. He didn't feel embarrassed or awkward. He simply wanted to make sure the old man was safe. There was a quiet courage in that, a kind of strength that didn't need attention or praise. After a few minutes, they reached a small park near the man's neighborhood. The old man stopped again, looking around. I used to come here a lot," he said, voice trembling slightly. With my wife, we would sit on the bench there." He trailed off and a shadow crossed his face. The boy nodded, listening patiently. "That sounds nice," he said softly. "Do you want to sit for a little while?" The old man nodded and they walked slowly to the bench. The boy set the grocery bag beside him and helped the man sit down. The old man seemed to relax, his shoulders dropping slightly, as if he could finally breathe after holding tension for so long. They sat in silence for a few moments, watching the morning sun rise higher, casting golden light over the frost-covered grass. The boy didn't rush him. He didn't try to force conversation. He simply sat there offering company and presence. That small act, he knew, meant more than any words could say. After a few minutes, the old man looked at him and gave a faint smile. "Thank you for helping me," he said, almost whispering, as if saying it aloud was difficult. The boy smiled back. "You don't have to thank me," he said. "I just wanted to make sure you were okay." The old man nodded again, closing his eyes for a brief moment as if trying to remember something important. The boy could see the effort in his expression, the struggle of holding on to memories that seemed to slip away like sand through fingers. It made the boy's heart ache, but it also strengthened his resolve. He wanted to be there for the man, to help him navigate the confusion and fear that sometimes came with getting older. Finally, the old man stood up a little unsteadily and gestured toward a small building a few blocks away. I lived there," he said, pointing with a trembling hand. "I think, yes. There." The boy nodded and helped him carry the bag the rest of the way. They reached a modest apartment building, the kind that had seen better days but still felt like home. The old man fumbled with his keys and the boy waited patiently, offering quiet encouragement. When the door finally opened, the man stepped inside, turning back to the boy. You're very kind," he said. His voice was soft, but there was a warmth in it that touched the boy deeply. The boy shook his head gently. "Just doing what I can," he replied with a small smile. "Take care, okay?" The old man nodded and the boy watched him disappear inside. For a moment he felt a quiet satisfaction. It wasn't about reward or recognition. It was simply about knowing he had helped someone who needed it. As he walked back down the street, the boy felt the cool morning air on his face. The frost on the ground glistened in the sunlight, and he couldn't help but notice how small acts of kindness could make even a chilly morning feel warmer. He didn't know what the rest of the day would bring, but he felt a sense of purpose. A small but powerful understanding that helping others, especially when it mattered most, was always worth the effort. Little did he know, this small, simple act would soon ripple far beyond that quiet neighborhood, changing his life in ways he could never imagine. For now, though, all he knew was that he had done something good, and that was enough to make his heart feel lighter as he continued on his way. After that morning, the boy returned to his usual routine. He went to school, carried his backpack, and greeted familiar faces in the neighborhood. His life was simple but full of small responsibilities. He helped his younger siblings with homework when he could, ran errands for his mother, and did odd jobs around the neighborhood to earn a little extra money. Though his family didn't have much, the boy never complained. He had a quiet determination and a sense of responsibility that made him mature beyond his years. But even as he carried on with his day, he couldn't stop thinking about the old man he had helped. There was something in the man's eyes that stayed with him, the mixture of confusion, sadness, and fleeting moments of clarity that revealed a life, once full of memories, now slipping away. The boy realized that people like the old man were often overlooked, ignored, or forgotten. It bothered him, not because he was trying to be heroic, but because he believed everyone deserved kindness, especially when life had become difficult for them. Later that afternoon, the boy was walking home from school when he noticed something strange. Across the street near a small cafe, the old man was standing again, looking just as lost and confused as before. His grocery bag had been replaced by a small satchel, and he seemed to be peering around, trying to find something or someone. The boy's heart sank a little. It was clear the man was wandering, unsure of where he belonged. Without hesitation, he crossed the street and approached him. "Hello again," the boy said gently. "Do you need some help?" The old man blinked, recognizing him faintly. "Ah, yes. Thank you," he said, his voice quiet and unsure. He held on to the satchel as if it were precious, but his hands trembled slightly. The boy smiled reassuringly. "No problem. Let's get you somewhere safe." As they walked, the boy tried to engage him in small conversation. "Do you like this park nearby? There are some nice benches and a little fountain." The old man paused and tilted his head as if trying to remember. I think I've been there before," he said. "Long ago?" "Maybe." His voice trailed off, filled with uncertainty. The boy didn't push him. He knew that patience was key. He simply nodded and guided the man gently toward the park. On the way, he noticed the subtle ways the old man struggled. Slightly staggering steps, pauses in mid-stride, moments when he seemed lost in thought. The The boy adjusted his pace, sometimes offering an arm for support or lightly holding the satchel so it wouldn't strain the man's hands. When they reached the park, the old man's expression softened a little. "It's peaceful here," he said. He walked slowly toward a bench near the fountain, where sunlight glimmered off the water and small birds chirped nearby. The boy followed him, setting the satchel down carefully and sitting beside him. For a long while they sat in quiet companionship. The boy didn't rush him, didn't demand conversation, and didn't treat him like he was helpless. He simply offered presence and understanding, something the old man clearly needed more than anything else. The old man's eyes wandered across the park, pausing on each familiar detail: a tree, a bench, the fountain. But his mind seemed trapped between memory and confusion. "You have a kind heart. You know?" the old man said suddenly, looking at the boy. It's rare to find someone like you." The boy smiled faintly, shaking his head. "I'm just helping. That's all. Everyone needs help sometimes." The old man nodded slowly, looking down at his hands. Yes, that is true. And you are helping more than you know." The boy felt a warm sense of satisfaction, but he kept his response simple. "I'm glad I can help," he said. After a few minutes, the old man stood, stretching slightly. I must go home," he said. He seemed uncertain, almost hesitant, but he trusted the boy enough to follow his lead. The boy helped him gather his things, ensuring the satchel was secure and that he could walk steadily. As they made their way back through the streets, the boy noticed how the old man's steps grew more confident when he was there. Strangers passed by, some giving brief nods or smiles, and the boy realized that kindness didn't always need recognition. It quietly made life better, even for small moments. Along the way, the old man suddenly paused and pointed to a small corner store. I used to buy something here," he said slowly. "Long ago. My wife, we would come here together." His voice wavered and he looked down at the pavement. The boy nodded patiently. "Would you like to go inside?" he asked gently. The old man hesitated, then shook his head. "No, just seeing it is enough." The boy smiled, understanding that the old man wasn't asking for more than small comforts. They continued walking, and the boy found himself thinking about the fragility of life. So many people, he realized, were quietly struggling, sometimes alone, sometimes unnoticed. And yet he also understood that small acts of attention and care could make a big difference. When they reached the old man's apartment building again, the boy helped him climb the few steps to the door. The man fumbled with his keys, hands shaking, and the boy stayed close, ready to assist. Finally, the door clicked open and the old man turned to him, a faint smile on his face. You have done more for me than you realize," he said softly. "Thank you for your kindness." The boy shook his head gently, brushing off the praise. "It's nothing. I just wanted to help." The old man nodded, then stepped inside, closing the door behind him. The boy lingered for a moment, looking at the building, feeling a quiet sense of satisfaction. It was strange. He had spent only a few hours with the man, but it felt like something meaningful had happened, something that mattered. Walking back home, the boy's thoughts wandered. He thought about the old man, about how easy it would have been to ignore him, and about how much courage it took just to approach someone who seemed lost and confused. He realized that sometimes helping others wasn't about grand gestures. Sometimes it was about showing up, being patient, and offering small acts of kindness that could change someone's day, or even their life. When he reached his own home, he was greeted by the familiar sounds of his younger siblings laughing and his mother preparing a late lunch. He smiled, feeling grounded in the normalcy of life. Yet the morning's event stayed with him, a quiet reminder that the world was bigger than his own concerns, and that every small decision to help could ripple in unexpected ways. That evening, the boy thought again about the old man. He wondered if he would remember today, if the moments of clarity they shared would stay with him, or if they would fade into the confusion that Alzheimer's often brought. He hoped at least that he had made the man feel safe, seen and respected even for a short while. Little did the boy know, his simple act of walking beside the old man, offering presence, patience, and care, had already set something in motion. The world often has a way of noticing kindness even when it seems small or unseen, and in the hours to come the boy's life was about to take an unexpected turn, one that would show him that true goodness does not go unnoticed, even if recognition comes in the most surprising form. As night fell, the boy lay down, thinking about the day and feeling a quiet peace. He had done something meaningful, not for reward, not for recognition, but simply because it was the right thing to do. And though he didn't know it yet, that simple choice, the choice to stop, notice, and help, would change more than just the old man's day. It would change the boy's life forever. The next few days passed quietly for the boy. Life returned to its usual rhythm, with school, errands, and small chores filling his hours. He woke early, helping his mother prepare breakfast for his siblings, and then hurried to school where he sat through lessons, exchanged smiles with friends, and carried the weight of responsibilities he had taken on at home. Though the days were busy, there was a quiet contentment in his heart. He felt proud of being able to help those around him, even in small ways, and he carried with him the memory of the old man he had assisted. He often thought about the old man during these days. Sometimes he wondered if the man had remembered him, or if the fleeting moments of clarity had already slipped away. Alzheimer's, he knew, could erase memories as quickly as it created them. Yet he also knew that even small acts of kindness left traces in the hearts of people, whether they remembered them or not. He felt that in some small way, he had made a difference. One afternoon, as the boy returned from school carrying a few groceries for his family, he saw something unusual. Across the street, near a quiet corner, he noticed a group of people gathered, talking quietly among themselves. In the center of the group was the old man, surrounded by a few others who seemed to be assisting him. The boy slowed down, unsure at first if he should approach, but then the man's eyes met his. There was a flicker of recognition, brief but unmistakable, and the old man waved him over. The boy crossed the street carefully, feeling a mixture of curiosity and concern. As he approached, one of the people with the old man stepped forward. "Thank you for helping him," the woman said politely, her tone warm. "He has been a bit confused lately, and it means a lot to us that someone cared enough to help him." The boy nodded, a little surprised. I was happy to help," he replied softly. He didn't expect acknowledgement, but hearing it made him feel good in a quiet, humble way. The old man looked at him, his eyes shining with appreciation. You are very kind," he said, his voice shaking slightly. "It is not easy to find someone like you." The boy smiled, feeling a warmth spread through him. "It's nothing," he said. "I just wanted to make sure you were safe." The woman nodded. "We've been trying to make sure he doesn't wander off too far. But today, thanks to you, he returned safely. It is clear that you have a good heart." For the boy, this was more than he had expected. He had helped without seeking anything in return, and yet now, he was being recognized for his kindness. He felt a strange mix of humility and pride, knowing that small acts could have meaningful impacts on people's lives. After a few moments, the old man gently guided the boy to a quieter spot, away from the group. You remind me of someone," he said slowly. "A long time ago, I knew someone with a heart like yours. Brave, patient, thoughtful. You make me feel safe." His words were soft, almost hesitant, but there was a depth of sincerity in them that touched the boy deeply. The boy nodded, listening carefully. He didn't need praise, but hearing these words from someone who had clearly lived a long, full life made him feel a sense of connection he had not experienced before. "I just try to help," he said quietly. "That's all I know how to do." The old man smiled faintly, a smile that seemed to come from deep within. "It is enough," he said. You have done more than you know." As they stood there, the boy noticed the subtle changes in the man. He seemed calmer, more at ease than he had during their first encounter. Perhaps it was the presence of someone who cared, someone patient and gentle. The boy realized that often, people who struggle with memory and confusion are not only in need of practical help, but also of emotional support, someone who sees them as human, not as a burden. The boy spent a little more time with the old man that afternoon, walking him through a nearby park, sharing quiet conversation and simply being there. He learned small things about the man, how he enjoyed certain kinds of music, how he had loved gardening in his youth, and how he remembered small, fleeting moments with a clarity that was both touching and heartbreaking. Every story the man shared was like a small window into a life that had been rich and full, yet now fragile and slipping away. When it was time to leave, the old man turned to him again. "Thank you," he said softly. You are a rare person. Do not forget the value of your heart. The boy nodded, feeling a deep sense of purpose. He knew that kindness was not something one measured by reward or recognition, but by the quiet ways it could touch lives. Helping the old man had shown him that every small action mattered, and that even brief moments of care could leave lasting impressions. Over the next few days, the boy continued with his life. He focused on schoolwork, helped his family at home, and fulfilled his daily responsibilities. Yet the memory of the old man lingered in his mind, a quiet reminder of the difference that one person could make for another. He thought about how many people went through life unnoticed, struggling silently, and he realized that acts of kindness, no matter how small, could be powerful. Then one afternoon, something unexpected happened. While he was helping his younger siblings with homework, a car slowly rolled up to the curb outside their home. It was a luxury car, shiny and elegant, with tinted windows and a quiet hum that made it stand out in their modest neighborhood. The boy paused, unsure what to make of it. Cars like that were rare in the area, and he had never seen one stop outside his home before. The car door opened, and the old man stepped out, accompanied by a few other people. He smiled warmly at the boy, who felt a mix of surprise, curiosity, and disbelief. "Hello," the old man said gently. "I wanted to see you again to thank you properly for what you did." The boy stepped closer, his heart beating quickly. I didn't expect this," he admitted, a little embarrassed. "I just wanted to help." The old man shook his head. "It is more than helping. You showed kindness, patience, and understanding when I needed it most. That is rare, and it deserves recognition." The boy's family had come to the door, equally surprised to see the old man in the car. The woman who had been with him earlier explained, "He has a family, a life that can be complicated, but he wanted to personally thank you for your care. What you did meant a great deal." The boy felt a wave of emotion. He had never imagined that a simple act of helping someone could lead to this moment. The recognition was not what he had sought, but it felt meaningful, touching him in a way he could not explain. He realized that kindness has a way of returning to those who give it, sometimes in ways that are unexpected and transformative. The old man continued, his voice sincere and gentle. "Your heart is good. You have made me feel safe, valued, and respected. That is something I will never forget." The boy smiled a little shyly, but with a deep sense of fulfillment. "I'm glad I could help," he said simply. As they stood there together, the boy understood something important. Life was full of moments where one could make a difference, moments where patience, care, and understanding mattered more than any words or rewards. And sometimes those moments came full circle, surprising you when you least expected it. The old man's presence, along with his family and the luxury car, was a reminder that the boy's actions had impact beyond what he could see. It wasn't about wealth or status. It was about the quiet, human connections that defined life. The boy realized that in helping someone when they needed it most, he had touched a life in ways that would be remembered, and in doing so, he had been recognized in a way he never anticipated. Walking back inside later that day, the boy felt a mixture of wonder and humility. He had learned that true kindness does not wait for reward. Yet sometimes life surprises those who act with pure intentions. He thought about the old man, about his struggles, and about the simple act of walking beside him, helping him carry a bag and offering companionship. That small gesture had grown into something far bigger than he could have imagined. As night fell, the boy reflected quietly. He realized that helping others was not just about the moment itself. It was about the ripple effect it could create. Small actions, patience, and understanding had the power to change lives, sometimes in ways one could not predict. And he understood that his journey of kindness was only beginning, that life would continue to present opportunities to help, to care, and to connect. Little did the boy know, this was just the start. The recognition he had received, the gratitude he had witnessed, and the connection he had formed would soon lead to even more unexpected opportunities, shaping his path in ways he could never have imagined. But for now, he felt a quiet pride, a sense of purpose, and a deep understanding of the power of kindness. The next morning started like any other, with the boy waking early, helping his family, and preparing for the day ahead. He carried out his chores quietly, thinking little of the previous encounters with the old man. To him, helping someone was natural. It wasn't about reward or recognition. It was simply the right thing to do. Yet as he moved through his day, he couldn't shake a sense of curiosity, a quiet feeling that something unexpected might happen. By mid-afternoon, the boy had returned from school and was helping his younger siblings with homework. The room was filled with the usual sounds of pencils scratching on paper, pages turning, and occasional bursts of laughter. The boy was explaining a math problem to his little sister when he heard a soft hum outside. He looked up and froze. A car, sleek and shiny, rolled slowly to a stop in front of their modest home. Its windows were tinted, its finish glinting in the sunlight, and its presence made the quiet street feel suddenly different, almost surreal. The boy set down the pencil and glanced toward the door. The car door opened and the old man stepped out, accompanied by a well-dressed man and woman who appeared to be his family or assistants. The boy's heart raced. He had not expected this. In all his life, he had never seen someone arrive at their home in such a car, let alone someone he had helped. He took a deep breath, trying to steady himself, and walked toward the door, unsure of what to say or do. The old man smiled warmly, his eyes lighting up with recognition. "Hello again," he said gently. "I wanted to see you personally and thank you for your kindness." The boy felt a wave of emotion. I didn't expect this," he admitted quietly. "I just wanted to help you. That's all." The old man shook his head slowly, his voice soft but firm. "It is more than helping. You showed patience, care, and understanding when I needed it most. That is rare. That is special." The boy's mother had come to the doorway by now, her eyes wide with surprise. "Is everything all right?" she asked, a mix of curiosity and caution in her voice. The old man smiled at her kindly. "Yes, everything is fine. I just wanted to personally thank this young man for his help." The boy's younger siblings peeked from behind their mother, eyes wide and curious. They whispered among themselves, wondering who the old man was and why he had come in such a car. The boy felt a strange mix of pride and humility. He had never imagined that a simple act of helping someone would lead to such attention. The woman standing beside the old man spoke gently. "He has Alzheimer's. He has a lot of support, but sometimes he gets confused and loses his way. Your kindness meant more than you know. It helped him feel safe and cared for." The boy nodded quietly, still processing the situation. He realized that small acts of kindness could have effects far beyond what one could see. Even brief moments of compassion could ripple out, touching lives in ways that were not always visible at first. The old man stepped closer to the boy, holding out his hand. "I want you to know something," he said, his voice sincere. "Your actions have made a difference. You have a heart that notices others, that acts when it matters most. That is a rare gift, and I will not forget it." The boy felt a lump in his throat. He shook the man's hand gently. "I thank you," he said quietly. "I didn't expect anything. I just wanted to help." The old man smiled, "And that is exactly why it mattered. Your actions were genuine. They were kind. And because of that, I want to offer you something that might help you and your family." The boy blinked, unsure what to say. He had never thought about receiving anything in return for his help. His life had been simple, filled with small responsibilities and modest ambitions. Yet he felt a strange sense of hope rising within him. The old man continued, "I want to help you with your education, with opportunities that can make a difference in your life. You have shown that you are responsible, caring, and courageous. That matters more than anything else." The boy's mother stepped forward, eyes wide. "Are you serious?" she asked, a mixture of disbelief and gratitude in her voice. The old man nodded. "Yes, it is not just about helping me. It is about recognizing the goodness in others. You have shown that goodness, and it deserves to be supported." The boy felt tears prick at the corners of his eyes. He had never imagined that helping someone could lead to such an unexpected turn. It was not about the car, the recognition, or the offer. It was about knowing that kindness mattered, that it could create real change in life. The old man's family smiled kindly. "We have arranged for some assistance with school fees and mentorship. We hope it will help you reach your potential. You have a bright future, and it is clear that you have the character to use it well." The boy nodded quietly, feeling a mixture of pride, humility, and gratitude. He realized that this moment was not just about him. It was about the power of kindness, the importance of seeing others, and the way small actions could create significant changes. The old man placed a hand gently on the boy's shoulder. "Always remember, kindness is never wasted. What you do for others will always come back in ways you cannot imagine. Today you see the result of that. But there is more to life than this moment. Keep being kind. Keep helping. That is the true measure of a person. The boy nodded, deeply moved. He felt a sense of purpose and clarity. Helping others was not just about small gestures. It was about recognizing humanity, acting with care and staying true to one's values. And in that moment he understood that his actions had not gone unnoticed. They had created an impact, one that extended far beyond what he had imagined. As the old man and his family prepared to leave, the boy's mother thanked them sincerely. "You have no idea how much this means to us," she said, her voice filled with gratitude. "This will change his life and our family's life in ways we could never imagine." The old man smiled warmly. It is a gift that comes from noticing the good in others. That good is always worth supporting. The boy watched as the car pulled away, feeling a sense of awe and inspiration. He realized that the world was full of opportunities to help, to notice and to care, and that every act of kindness, no matter how small, could lead to extraordinary outcomes. Later that evening, as the boy sat quietly in his room, he reflected on the events of the day. He thought about the old man, about the trust he had shown, and about the way a simple act of assistance had led to a life-changing experience. He understood that true kindness does not expect reward, yet sometimes life surprises those who act with genuine compassion. The boy felt a quiet determination rise within him. He wanted to continue helping others, not for recognition or reward, but because it was the right thing to do. He wanted to be someone who noticed when people were struggling, who offered a hand without hesitation, and who believed in the power of small, meaningful actions. That night, as he lay down to sleep, the boy felt a sense of peace and purpose. He had learned a powerful lesson, that kindness, patience, and understanding could create ripples far beyond what one could see. And while he did not know what the future would hold, he felt ready to face it, knowing that his heart, his actions, and his character would guide him. Little did he know, this was only the beginning. The impact of his compassion, his patience, and his willingness to help would continue to unfold in ways that would surprise him, inspire others, and prove that even the smallest gestures of humanity could change lives forever. After the unexpected visit from the old man and his family, the boy's life began to change in ways he had never imagined. At first it felt strange. He was still the same boy who woke up early to help his family, walked to school, and carried out small chores around the neighborhood. But now there were new possibilities, opportunities that had opened because someone noticed his kindness, his patience, and his heart. The first change came in his education. A few days after the visit, a letter arrived for him. It was from a local organization that the old man's family had arranged, offering scholarships and tutoring support. They wanted to help him achieve his potential, to make sure that his talent and determination were not wasted due to financial constraints. The boy read the letter carefully, his hands shaking slightly with excitement. For a long time he had wished for more chances to learn and grow, but he had never expected that those chances would come in such a way. He ran to show the letter to his mother, who gasped in surprise and relief. This could change everything," she said, her eyes misty. "You've worked so hard and now someone has recognized it." "I can't believe this is happening." The boy smiled quietly. "I just helped someone," he said softly. "I didn't think it would matter this much." His mother shook her head, placing a hand on his shoulder. "It mattered more than you realize. Your heart, your patience, your willingness to help, those things are rare. People see them even when you don't." With the support offered, the boy began attending additional classes after school, meeting tutors who guided him patiently through subjects he had struggled with before. He worked hard, determined not to waste the opportunity. At first it was overwhelming. New schedules, extra homework, and a level of instruction that was more advanced than he was used to. But he never gave up. Every time he felt tired or discouraged, he remembered the old man's words that patience, kindness, and effort mattered more than recognition or reward. Outside of school, the boy's life continued in its familiar rhythm, but now with a new sense of purpose. He helped his family in small ways, continued to run errands, and cared for his younger siblings. But there was also a quiet confidence in the way he moved through the world. He knew that life could be challenging, but he had also learned that small acts of integrity and compassion could create unexpected opportunities. One afternoon, the old man called the boys home. It was a brief but warm conversation. The man thanked him again, emphasizing how much the boy's kindness had meant to him. He explained that he had shared the boy's story with his family and friends, and that they wanted to support him in ways that could help him pursue his dreams. The boy listened quietly, humbled by the attention and grateful for the chance to learn and grow. With the new support, the boy's confidence grew. He started dreaming bigger than he had before. He imagined going to college, learning new skills and helping others in the way he had helped the old man. He realized that life was full of people who needed kindness, patience, and care, and he wanted to be someone who could offer that consistently. He understood that helping others was not a one-time act. It was a way of living. The boy also began to notice small changes in his community. People who had seen him helping the old man started to recognize him more, giving small nods of approval or words of encouragement. Neighbors who had once been distant now smiled and greeted him more warmly. It wasn't fame or wealth. It was the quiet acknowledgement of someone doing good in the world. That recognition, though small, reinforced his belief that kindness matters. As months passed, the boy continued to excel in school and take care of his family. He attended tutoring sessions, studied late into the evening, and managed to balance responsibilities at home with the opportunities that had come his way. Every success, however small, reminded him of the power of compassion and the way one small act could ripple outward, affecting not just the person helped but everyone connected to them. One day, while walking through the neighborhood, he saw the old man again. This time the man was sitting on a bench looking more relaxed and at ease. He smiled when he saw the boy approaching and waved him over. "Hello, young man," he said warmly. "It is good to see you again." The boy sat down beside him, carrying a small notebook with him to jot down ideas for school. "It's good to see you too," he replied. The old man looked at him thoughtfully. "I see that you are working hard," he said. "That is wonderful. I am proud of you." The boy smiled shyly. "I am trying. I want to make the most of the opportunities I have now." The old man nodded, his eyes gentle. "And you will. You have the heart, the mind, and the determination to go far. Remember, what you did for me was not just help, it was kindness. And that is what shapes the world." As they talked, the boy realized that the impact of his actions was not limited to material support or recognition. It was about the connection he had made, the way he had made someone feel seen and cared for, and the way that act had inspired others to support him. He felt a sense of fulfillment that went beyond any reward or opportunity. It was the satisfaction of knowing that he had acted from the goodness of his heart. In the following months, the boy continued to grow and thrive. The support from the old man's family allowed him to pursue better education, explore new interests, and develop skills that had once felt out of reach. He also continued his acts of kindness in small ways, helping neighbors, friends, and even strangers when the chance arose. Each time he helped someone, he remembered the lessons he had learned, that patience, empathy, and care matter more than anything else in the world. The boy's family also benefited from the changes. They had more stability, and the opportunities offered through the old man's support helped relieve some of the daily struggles they had faced. They were proud of the boy, not just for the opportunities he received, but for the character and heart he had shown. His mother often told him, "It is your goodness that brought this to our lives, not luck." Never forget that. Even the old man seemed to thrive. Though his Alzheimer's still brought challenges, the boy's act of compassion had created a bond and trust that made the old man feel safer and more valued. The man often spoke fondly of the boy to his family, sharing stories of the kindness he had experienced and the impact it had made. One quiet evening, the boy sat in his room, reflecting on the journey that had begun months ago, with a simple act of helping someone carry a bag. He realized how unpredictable life could be. A single moment of empathy had transformed not only his life, but the lives of those around him. He understood that while the rewards and recognition were meaningful, the true value lay in the choice to act with kindness, without expectation. The boy also realized that this experience had taught him something important about the world. That goodness matters, that the way we treat others can shape the future, and that every small act has the potential to ripple outward. He felt a quiet determination to continue living with integrity, compassion, and patience, knowing that the impact of his actions would extend far beyond what he could see. Looking forward, The boy dreamed of ways he could help others, inspired by the simple truth that kindness, when offered genuinely, could create change. He imagined mentoring younger children, supporting his community, and continuing to be a person who noticed when someone needed help. He understood that life's greatest rewards were not measured in wealth or fame, but in the lives touched and the hearts uplifted. And so, the boy's journey continued, not as someone seeking recognition, but as someone who understood the power of empathy, the importance of patience, and the quiet strength of a good heart. The old man's gratitude, the support he received, and the opportunities that followed were milestones in a larger journey, one that would shape his life, his values, and his understanding of the world. In the end, the boy realized that life's true richness comes from connection, compassion, and the courage to act when others need help. That simple act of assisting an old man with Alzheimer's had sparked a chain of events that would forever change him and those around him. And though the boy remained humble, living his life quietly and responsibly, he carried a deep knowledge that kindness matters, that good hearts are noticed, and that the smallest gestures can change lives in ways we cannot always imagine.